Yo, yo, yo! What's up, all you burner stoners and potheads? This is Weedman 420 with the Weedman 420 Chronicles. How are all you vipers doing out there? Mrs. Weedman.
Mr. Weedman.
How the hell are you?
I'm like a whole new person.
You are.
I think I am.
You're 100% a new person. Still a little faded every once in a while when you walk up hills both ways, but
But I'm doing
you're doing better.
a lot better.
Getting better every day. I love it. I love it. Hey, everybody out there in the world. Hopefully you're smoking some big fat doinks while you're listening to the show. And we are going to smoke right now. We're going to smoke some Orange Soul because I love that strain. I've been savoring some of the nugs that Big Earl gave us, so it is so good. So, Mrs. Weedman, why don't you light that bowl up? And I'm going to say hello to everybody out there. Hello, everybody. Hopefully everybody out there is doing well. Hopefully everybody out there is having some fun in life and enjoying yourselves and doing whatever it takes to succeed, to just live your life to the fullest each and every day. Right, Mrs. Weedman?
That's right.
You know what I'm saying. So I cannot wait to smoke. I've been waiting all day to smoke. And as you know, I don't really smoke during the day that much, but I don't, especially during show recordings, I want to smoke when the show starts and fade it out throughout the whole show. So, and also to try to do this show very high is very fun. So, Ms. Weedman, how's it taste?
It tastes like a jar full of sunshine.
Nice. Which you're going to be going down
It's
to some
Orange
sunshine
Soul,
soon.
right?
Yeah, it's Orange Soul. You'll be going down to some sunshine soon because we have nothing but freaking rain here the last week here in Chicago.
We've got a storm coming through right now. You might hear some thunder.
You do, yeah. We got one rolling in. Tornadoes like crazy. Tornadoes across the whole like Midwest, you know, from Arkansas all the way up to here. It's been nuts. So Miss Weedman's going to say hello while I smoke this bowl. Ms. Weedman, pass that over, that 8-decade steamroller, please.
I probably just smoked too much of that, but, you know, why not? Why not? We went to another fun event over the weekend. Mr. Weedman and I and our
Shouty.
kids and Shouty, and we just had a great time. We got super blitzed. We were so baked.
Brunch of stoners.
Brunch of stoners.
A lot of fun.
So much fun.
So much fun. Great job, Felix.
And Elena.
Great
Yep.
job. Thank you for
And the
getting
crew.
us baked.
Like, they really have.
Yeah.
They're really doing a great job. I think I heard somebody say this was their 5th event.
Yep.
So we look forward to future ones. We did some sponsorship for this one. So our 8-decade storage jars were in the VIP bags. So hopefully we get some new listeners who get to learn about us. That would be super cool. And learn about our brand and our mission to just stomp the stigma of cannabis and free the plant and just do things with cannabis that we should be doing.
Yep.
Like smoking in public.
It was great. The venue they did it at this time was great. They had a nice big outdoor area that had different types of outdoor games. You had bags, you had bocce ball, you had I don't know what the game is called, but it's with the little round circle washers and you got to throw it in the hole. That was a lot
cool.
of fun. I actually like that game. I've seen it, but I never played it. I love it.
Kind of like cornhole, but it was like a little briefcase, and then you separate the top and bottom pieces, and they have a piece of maybe like 4-inch PVC in the center, and you have these round rings that are probably like,
look like
a
washers.
3-inch, like a 3-inch metal washer that's painted for the 2 players, different colors.
It was fun.
And you toss them from about 20 feet apart
Yeah, I
from
think
one
so.
another,
Yeah.
and try to get them into the hole of the PVC.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun.
It was cool.
Yeah, it was awesome. So we also, I will say that it was a very great, well-run event again. All the tables where you got to partake in either a dab or the gravity bong or a Zenko. People passing around joints everywhere, rolling joints everywhere. It was just, the inside was one big cloud. The outside was beautiful too, though.
Yeah.
There was people smoking and sharing everywhere you went. You were never without weed if you didn't bring any weed. I mean, it was everywhere. So, and they had Pop-Tarts again.
Pop-Tarts, so much food. So much food.
Pop-Tarts. So good.
Really good Pop-Tarts. I have to say the acai bowl was a super favorite.
I thought it
of
was
mine.
chocolate pudding. That's why. And when they
That's why
said
you
it
didn't
wasn't,
take it?
no. If that's why I didn't take it.
That's why, right.
I wanted it. And I'm like, is that chocolate pudding? Like, no, it's us. I'm like, yeah, I want chocolate
Oh,
pudding.
you wanted chocolate.
Yes.
You wanted it to be chocolate
Yes. And they said they had a s'mores bar.
Yeah, that was good.
Infused s'mores.
or not.
Yeah, or not. And the same thing with your food. You can get your food infused or
Yep.
not,
I
which
got
is pretty
infused
awesome.
syrup on my little pancake.
Oh, nice.
Yes. It was super good.
Yeah, it
They
was
had some
great.
vegan options.
Great mellow time. You know, it was just a good old fashioned just smoke sesh.
Yeah,
It was
just
awesome.
good flow. Like people
Yeah.
super friendly, everybody kind of mixing and mingling with one another. It was just a nice
The
vibe.
mocktail
The
bar
vibe
was
is
great again.
Yeah, mocktails,
The
tonic.
good, yeah, they had a lot of goodies this time. It was fun. It was a great event. I can't wait for the next one. I can't wait to see a bunch of people who I've seen now, going for a second time, and just talking with people and socializing, just smoking joints and having a great, great night. And then we went to
the Oddities Flea Market.
yes,
Mixed emotions, mixed emotions. It was a good market.
yes,
The weird thing was, it was a vendor market, right? Usually vendor markets, you might pay nothing at the door oftentimes, or maybe $5 or $10 or a donation. I mean, like, this is Chicago. We have shit going on every weekend. There's an event that you can go
Yep.
to, and there's many that are like, suggested donation, $10 a person, or $5 or $10. Anyway, I'm rambling. That event was $25 a person, so I kind of was thinking like, there's going to be more, right? It's not just vendors selling stuff. I thought there would be more. There were two DJs. They were cool. They were doing some industrial, like 90s industrial grungy stuff. It was great. I enjoyed that. And there was a bar, but it was the afternoon. We just came from a smoke fest.
yeah, we were pretty stoned.
We weren't looking for drinks.
No.
And yeah, it was cool. I mean, cool vendors.
Yeah, the vendors were
interesting
awesome. There was
things.
a lot of cool stuff,
Yeah.
but the price to get in.
And
was
then the price
ridiculous.
of the
and there was
items
nothing,
being
but you
sold
weren't
were-
getting anything for that $25
Yeah, it was weird.
just to go in and shop.
We just
and
didn't
you're
get
gonna.
it.
I mean, everything there was expensive.
Yeah.
I mean, and it wasn't cheap. So I think it was just priced too high. But it was a fun event. Got
Yeah,
to see some
it was
awesome
neat to-
people.
it was
Got to
neat
see
to
some
go.
awesome people.
Yeah.
Some people were really dressed up and in their clothes. It was awesome. Just being around a bunch of freaks like myself. It was great. I loved it.
You're so freaky. It was fun. We
Yeah,
had
it
a
was-
fun day.
It was a great birthday weekend for Mrs. Weedman. So
For sure.
another 365 days around the sun.
That's right.
You're there. I love it. So also Succession.
Yeah.
Yeah, we watched the
Getting
second
into that.
episode. Oh, so good. So many mindfuck games that dad does to his children.
Yeah. It's crazy.
Such a good one though. If you haven't watched it yet, Succession, see the final season, season 4, episode 2, give it 2 thumbs up, 2 joints up, 2 bongs
Two
up.
joints. 2 bong rips.
Mrs. Weedman, you ready to get the show started?
Let's do it.
Check out our cannabis lifestyle brand online at 8decades.com. Our custom smokes and accessories are perfect for your coffee table, bedroom nightstand, or kitchen counter. They're designed for you to show them off. The Canna community is also loving our hemp and cotton blend t-shirts, sweatshirts, scarves, and hats, finished off with our 8 Decades logo. We've got some awesome long-lasting goods that will be your favorite for years to come. 8 Decades, because a 9th decade of cannabis prohibition isn't acceptable. Home grow. I'm very passionate about home grow, and I'm very passionate that every state should allow home grow, not just for med patients, for people that don't have their med card also. I think everybody should be allowed to grow 5, 10, 15, 20 plants as long as you're just using it for personal use and you're giving it away for personal use. I stand by home grow in every state, and every state that's not doing it, shame on you. And here is a great example of a great article written by Green State and by Cara Wheatstock, Wietstock, just because I'm terrible right now. So actually, home grow. Adult use cannabis has been legal, and this is not just about Washington State, but starts in Washington State for over a decade. But growing the plant without a medical license could incur a felony charge. Illinois also prohibits recreational cannabis grow, but patients can grow up to 5 plants in a locked room. Jersey regulators took the home grow ban one step further. Neither medical nor recreational growers are permitted to grow cannabis. Boo, Jersey, the place I was born. Ugh, never go back there. States like Alabama, Arkansas, Florida, Louisiana, Maryland, New Hampshire, North Dakota, Ohio, Pennsylvania, Utah, West Virginia have approved medical use, but still deem home grow illegal, forcing patients to purchase prescribed cannabis medicine from licensed dispensaries. With cannabis recalls becoming more frequent, some patients and informed consumers prefer to cultivate their own cannabis to ensure it doesn't contain mold, heavy metals, or other undesired additions. Regulators cite the legacy market when supporting the persistent illegality of home grows. For example, the Washington State Liquor Control Board home grow site states allowing recreational home grow may provide a cover for illicit market. This has been seen in other states that permit home grows for medical and recreational purpose. At the end of the Grow Hour recording, Big Earl and I recorded last night. We went into a nice thing about caregiving and home grow, and take a listen to that because you'll get my opinion on caregiving and stuff and why we should allow it in all states. Let's do the math. States that allow home grow regulate how many plants one household can grow and where they can grow them. The caps range from 3 plants in more conservative states up to 12 plants in Alaska and Michigan. On average, a cannabis plant can yield around 6 ounces and takes months to evolve from seed to smoke. A street dealer of the traditional market packaged flower into grams priced around 20 or eighths for 40. And this is the person who wrote the article. I haven't bought street cannabis or weed in a very long time. So that's the pricing that writer put there. With those prices, a legacy operator using a medical license to cultivate could make $570 per plant selling grams. In the state that allowed 5 plants per patient, that would make $2,850 per run, aka less $3,000 every 3 to 4 months, which doesn't include the cost of labor, utilities, and supplies. Consumers and business owners in Washington state argue that overregulation and taxation, not home grow, create a market for create the traditional market to keep on going. Washington state has an excise tax. Listen to this tax in Washington state: 37% compound with city tax and priced into regulated cannabis products. Where this writer lives is also an 8.8% sales tax on top of the state excise tax, which means that person's paying 45.8% of the price I pay for cannabis goes to the government agency.
That's insane.
Wow. I thought Illinois had outrageous taxes. And that's just a flat tax on everything. At least in Illinois, there's range. I mean, it still sucks, but there's range. There's different products with different taxes. 11 years into legalization, many consumers in the town this writer lives in still buy cannabis from the neighborhood dealer to skip the vice tax. I meet medical patients here who grow their own and forgo both the dispensary and the traditional market for their own harvest. I've learned this information from networking with fellow connoisseurs over the years who express gratitude that they have built a tangible connection to their medicine in their garden. In the case of Illinois, the legal recreational cannabis supply falls solely into the hands of 83 cultivation license holders. From that list, 63 are craft growers and 21 are cultivation centers. The latter includes large corporations. Industry pundits like Box Brown, I love his comics, by the way, if you're not following him, his comics on that he does about the cannabis industry on Instagram are phenomenal. Believe the corporate involvement could play a role in regulatory measures against the right to grow your own. But for now, these are solely theories. As Washington and Jersey legislators digitally introduced bills to legalize adult-use home grow, advocates continue to question why regulators would keep small-scale home grows illegal amidst legalization. The debate rages on across the country. The Delaware Senate just advanced a legalization bill that prohibits residents from growing their own, while Minnesota legislators are working on a bill that allows up to 8 plants. Good for you, Minnesota. That's fucking awesome. Though niche, the issue of access to home grow cannabis persists. If you are not letting people grow their own medicine at home, then you failed the cannabis regulatory system for the end person, and that is us, the cannabis community, the cannabis user, the cannabis people, the burners, stoners, and potheads, the people that want to grow their own medicine because they know where it's coming from, they know what they're using in it. They can get mentored by people. They know where they can buy their seeds from. They know where the lineage is coming from. It goes on and on and on. And if you're not allowing it in your state, you're foolish. Because, like I said on yesterday's episode with Big Earl, stop being greedy. Allow people to make this plant was made for everyone, not for corpo cannabis and even craft. I mean, don't get me wrong. I think craft is going to be great. I have an article to talk about that in a minute. But if we talked about Michigan yesterday, and Michigan was first started with craft growers. That's how legalization starts. And if you allow, like states like Missouri right now, and I think Missouri you can home grow. I'm not exactly sure. I got to look it up. If you allow people to home grow right now, that state right now is in a shortage because what they should have done with their laws was when they went full rec, they shouldn't have allowed out-of-state people to get cannabis there until it was fully operational and you had supply. And now you're short supply, and now you're going to raise it to 50-60% up in markup, which is now going to make it expensive, just like Illinois. And then the people that live in Missouri cannot get their medicine. So if you had home grow in all these states and people were growing, or even allowing them to be caregivers and have 25, 30, 40, 50 clients, still pay their taxes, but have 50 clients, you wouldn't be in a shortage right now. So that's just my opinion. Home grow, fight for it in your state. Fight for it. If it's not in the bill, that means corporate cannabis is writing the bills, and they've admitted that they don't like home grow because it takes away from their product, their pockets. So, all right, moving on. We like to hike, especially when the weather is nice.
Yep,
70s during the day, 60s, perfect. I know you like 80s a little bit hiking, but I love to hike. Before we talk about this, what was the hardest hike that you and I have ever been on? I can name it like that in an instant. You know what
I would say the Stairway to Heaven
in Hawaii. Hawaii. Yes. You knew it. You knew it. That was the hard. This
was up to a pillbox. It was a pillbox bunker up at the top of what was an old some sort of conveyor belt system that they had built. So it was kind of like two railroad ties with occasional railroad, like that cross support, that piece of wood that goes every
which on this was pretty far. Each one was very, probably like a foot, probably like 2 feet spaced out.
And then it was just like dusty hillside, dusty rocky,
which you can't really
hillside.
Climb.
So you had to, it was challenging. It was very steep.
I think
remember.
It was 1,000, 1,500 steps.
Yeah, something like that.
I can't remember.
It was crazy.
But all I know is I'm in pretty decent shape.
We were very much in shape at that time.
And we had to stop about 75% the way.
Yeah.
So the last 25%, and Paulie and Olivia, O-Dog was with us, and he was stationed over there, and he took us there, and he stopped only because we stopped. He was in way better shape. He was in running shape. We're not big runners. We're hikers, and we like to climb stairs, but this was tough. And so we like to hike, but I'm glad you like knew like what my.
I remember.
Yeah, you were right there.
The view was beautiful. Up there.
So hiking. This writer talks about consumption and hiking. So tell us about it, Mrs Weedman.
So this is what hiking while high taught me about cannabis consumption. Enjoying cannabis in nature heightens my experience. The amplified sounds of leaves in the breeze and the fascinating fractals of the common fern become even more engaging. But as I began regularly hiking longer and more arduous trails, I noticed that starting a hike stoned could also affect my experience negatively. I grew up in the stucco-crusted suburbs and moved directly to a concrete city when I turned 18. It wasn't until I was offered a dispensary job in a small mountain town that I began to connect with nature. In that mountain town, I met my now husband, an avid outdoorsman whose idea of a good time involves chopping wood for 3 hours. When we first started dating, he asked if I liked to hike, and of course I said yes. But to me, a girl who spent the last 8 years living in San Francisco, hiking meant wandering into Golden Gate Park to find a neat grotto for rolling a joint. So you can imagine my confusion when I showed up stoned for a chill hike with said future husband, and it turned out to be a sufferfest. While it wasn't what I had in mind, that experience kicked off a revolution in how I choose to consume cannabis outdoors, especially when it comes to hiking. Since the plant deepens my connection to nature, I used to start a hike with a toke. But that became unsustainable when I started embarking on longer treks. Personally, as my cannabis high wears off, lethargy will often kick in, which is not ideal for the first leg of a 10-mile round trip. Getting droopy-eyed and yawning after 2 miles didn't provide a positive outlook while trudging over rocks and through seemingly endless switchbacks. So I asked myself, if my cannabis use was serving me, and in this instance, it turns out that it wasn't. It was only after self-reflection on my cannabis use that I realized using cannabis at the beginning of a hike hindered my experience. That realization reshaped how I enjoy the plant on the trail. I believe that cannabis helps me appreciate all of the little delights found in nature, but I wasn't using the tool the right way. Rather than removing cannabis from my hiking rituals, I reshaped how I consume it. Instead of starting a hike with a toke, I take a hit when I need a pick-me-up amidst a long journey and as a recovery tool once I'm home with my boots off. Now my cannabis use is intentional, both in my daily life and on the trail. I wasn't consciously engaging in my relationship with cannabis at the start of my relationship with hiking, but picking up the hobby forced me to confront an aspect of my cannabis consumption that had become habitual, and that lesson slowly carried over to affect the rest of my life. Now I regularly check in with myself about why I'm using cannabis, how much I consume, and how it affects my daily life. The way cannabis interacts with the human body is different for everyone, so while advice is helpful, it's most important to stay in dialogue with yourself about your use. Whether you're questioning your wake and bake or considering switching from a bong to a dry herb vape, you should regularly engage in self-assessment. Shifting my cannabis consumption has helped me find a deeper connection with the plant and the natural world around me. I think that's key.
Yes.
I think it's really important. I mean, I think that we use cannabis daily, both medicinally and recreationally. We both like it as like a decompress at the end of the day. It's our kind of wind down, but it also helps with anxiety. It also helps with sleep. It also helps with hot flashes.
We like it socially.
We like it socially. Like this weekend, we were just high out of our minds, but it was great.
You did a dab. You were dabbing this weekend. Dabbing with a rig. We weren't dabbing out of the Zenko like we normally do. You were dabbing out of your first time out of a hot, beautiful piece of glass at the end, and you were doing some beautiful blueberry yogurt. Oh man, you were baked. You sat in that chair for a good 2 hours and didn't move. I served you. I got you snacks and all that stuff.
I was plastered to the chair.
We like it socially. And I do like this article because it talks about, like, I like to hike, but there's the fast-paced hike where you're not going to smoke. It's just not me. I like I said, I don't like smoking while I work out. If I'm on a hike, like we're going to move and trek, go miles, no. But if we're like nature walking,
like just lollygagging
around,
why not?
Yeah, that's a different story.
Or like you're mid-hike and you find a cool spot to sit and chill for a bit.
Yeah, you can have a picnic or something like that. Stay for an hour. Yeah,
light
absolutely.
Up a joint.
Yeah,
enjoy it.
Have a glass of wine.
And then by the time you get back to hiking, you're good to go.
Yeah, absolutely. So
but it's just a cool perspective on being more conscious about your consumption.
Yeah, that too. It was a good article, and you'd like it.
I liked it. Thank you.
High Times, another great article. The culling, regenerative process. I thought this was a really good article. The current marketplace, for those unfamiliar with the current happenings with the cannabis industry, this writer will give you a brief overview. Overall, things are looking grim, with most recreational companies operating at massive losses and traditional elements struggling to hang on by a thread. Now, this is probably talking about in markets that have been around for a while, or a long time, or maybe a few years. But the newer markets, they're going to have their waves too, but it's going to start off real strong. So, but there is a lot of money being spent. So I just kind of want to make that clear a little bit. I don't know if it's every state that this writer's talking about. So what does it mean for everyone involved in the industry? First, it means increased pressure on smaller operators. Whether traditional or recreational, small growers are feeling the squeeze of oversupply, a glut of subpar mediocrity produced by their larger counterparts. Second, it means the flagrant burning of investors' money and conglomerates fall victim to their own skunk cost fallacy, attempting to justify the hundreds of millions, if not several billions, they've already spent on massive facilities that became their own worst enemy. With larger conglomerates squandering investors' resources, it's safe to say there isn't much left for anybody else. So, things look bleak for quite a lot of people, but are they really? The answer to this question is one of the things I really want to assess is how much of what's being trimmed right now, it's just the fat. This writer will be drawing parallels to the natural process in this writer's assessment. I'm a living organic farmer after all, looking on how nature might be showing us the current reckoning could be the best thing to happen to our industry yet. The culling. Let's start off by rewinding about 10 years, right before Colorado went legal. Back then, someone worked in cannabis was a rarity and most certainly not the norm. Once legalization began spreading like wildfire through the amount of people who worked in cannabis or were invested in cannabis or were looking to sink their claws into the industry in any way they could, rose astronomically. According to these hopeful green diggers, term coined by me just now, the writer, laugh out loud, legalization was the new way to make massive amounts of easy cash. In their minds, dealing had just gone mainstream, with a new, more accessible market at their fingertips. How could it not be super lucrative? The funny thing about dealing, though it is profitability is inflated by its inaccessibility. Its simple equation of supply and demand. By making an illegal product permissible, you laughing?
Are you okay?
Yeah, I'm good. My eyes are kind of crossed right now.
I struggled with my stuff.
I took. Well, now it's
kept,
really
like,
hitting me because
repeating words.
I took another hit.
Oh
So,
boy.
it's a simple equation of supply and demand. By making an illegal product permissible, you introduce a whole new kind of competition that just wasn't there before. Save for a handful of quality-focused brands that can demand a higher price point for the effort they put into making an impeccable product. Most producers are motivated by the easiest, cheapest way to make a buck. You don't have to look at the history of capitalism to know such a narrow focus usually results in dismay subpar products, cheap nonetheless. Fast forward 10 years now into the present, where these green diggers to do as the promise of easy cash from an always on-demand product is fact not easy cash for a not so on-demand product. That was good paragraph right there. Well, there is where the culling begins. It's a lot of W's screwing me up right now. On the surface,
that's your struggle letter right
my
now.
struggle right now. On the surface, a brutal, scary process. It's really meant to separate those who were in this for the money from those who were always in it. See, were we? Where are we going? I think it's safe to say, even among the veteran trappers and growers, many were just in the game for how incredibly lucrative selling units at $4K a pound once was. I remember those days. I remember the 90s. You were getting $4,000 to $5,000 a pound sometimes, especially where I lived at. It's why when I hear someone laminating past price points when dinosaurs ruled the earth, I just shake my head. But I do remember those days. It was, man, banging. When you take the money out of it, there's only a select few who are willing to go through the struggle of keeping a cannabis business alive. Fierce competition, slim margins, a need for incredible customer service. It's now just the same as running any other venture, if not made even more difficult due to stringent regulations and taxation. The seeds will sprout. At this point, you may be saying to yourself, okay, so the industry is absolutely screwed, right? What's going to happen? Well, here's the nature can teach us a thing or two. Just as a fire scores the forest of dying trees or flood ravages a parched valley, so too will the industry be renewed by its culling. Just like the fire clears the most vulnerable trees that have grown too old or too sick, and just as the flood washes away all the old decay in the sun-stricken valley, left behind are the youngest, healthiest trees and seedlings with plenty of light to grow, able to take advantage of the abundant carbon released from the fire. Animals and plants that once parched valley rejoice in the vitality that the floods left behind, streams bring to the dried land. So too in our industry will decay get swept away. The unhealthy hulking giants will be most susceptible to the fire and floods they themselves started. It'll take time, but I assure you there is only so much capital investors will put in before enough is enough. We see it happening with massive Canadian conglomerates, and it's happening to a lot to the major operators on the West Coast. So there'll be a regrowth. As all things change, all seasons change, and all seeds will change, there will be a regrowth. We'll see it. And then also, the writer says, keep your heads high. In the end, the struggle will be worth it. We only took a look to nature to see that adversity severs the sharpen and focus. Just I know, man.
Could
This
you
article's
repeat that, please?
yeah, I know this article's tough. You need the David Attenbauer to read this
Yeah.
fucking article. It's great. I had to read it, but man, the words, woo, especially when you're super duper high. In the end, the struggle will be worth it. We only need to look to nature to see that adversity severs to sharpen and focus. Just as plants develop stronger roots and more resilient stalks from strong winds, our industry will become back stronger than ever, renewed by its culling. Life shines brightest in the face of adversity. So that was a tough article. It was a great article, but it was very tough to read for me, especially being this high. Sorry, everybody. Here's something interesting, because now that cannabis is going legal in recreational in states and medical in states, there's a generational divide gap on cannabis, like on marijuana. What's the groups like? Who likes what and what likes who, and where is everyone going?
Yeah, so I'm going to get to that in a second, but I want to kind of circle back to what you were just saying about being really high and reading and apologizing. We intentionally smoke on this show, and we talk about the strain that we smoke, and it is to help stomp the stigma and free the plant. Because if we can get through podcasting and read these articles and bring you content that we hope you find valuable, we try to present the most valuable, the best news that we can, and we can do it stoned. So for people who have that concept in their brain that getting stoned and being like totally baked means you can't operate and function,
that's a lie.
It just isn't the case. And so we smoke because we want you to see, we talk about the strain, so you could pay attention. Like go back a few episodes and hear if we were real down and mellow, or if we were real uppity. If we were, sometimes I get sniffles from certain strains. Sometimes I cough too much because I inhale too much. So part of that is part of our mission to stomp the stigma. And so we do this intentionally. So yes.
Plus, we enjoy doing the show stoned.
And so sometimes we have really big struggles trying to get through articles because our reading, I don't know, it's like the brain talk is slowed down a bit, maybe a little compromised.
Sometimes words are hard.
Yeah, words are hard. Punctuation. Woo. Yeah. All right. So now the article. There is a generational divide in medical marijuana. Which age groups prefer edibles and which like flower? And this is an interesting article. Veriheal, you probably hear in most states that Veriheal they advertise on the radio. If you need a medical card, they can help you get your medical card. So Veriheal, a healthcare tech company and one of the biggest facilitators of medical marijuana cards in the U.S., published its latest medical cannabis report on Tuesday. And that's kind of cool because think about all of the data that they can collect by signing up people across the United States. And they're putting that to work. They're putting all that data capture to work to bring us real research.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
So this report, which you can go out, we'll put the link on the notes for this episode to the actual report. And the report revealed generational product preferences. In its yearly analysis, the company explored the health goals and preferences of U.S. medical marijuana patients using segmented survey data. To create the report, Veriheal teamed up with members of NORML, the University of Maryland School of Pharmacy, and UCLA, which gathered information from 200,000 anonymized adult patients who signed up for an appointment with a medical marijuana doctor using Veriheal's platform in 2022 alone. Upon registering, patients answered assorted questions regarding their medical needs and cannabis use. Veriheal is committed to helping the medical cannabis industry better serve all patients with the aid of data-driven intelligence, stated Anthony Dutcher, Veriheal's CMO. Key takeaways of the report include...
They didn't pay us for that plug, just by the way.
Right. No, this is just an article.
I'm kidding.
Key takeaways. Baby boomers and Gen X prefer edibles at 63%.
And I could see
edibles.
And I could see why they prefer... Go ahead and do the cannabis flower.
And then slightly more than flower. So they preferred 63 over 61% edibles to flower.
And I could see why, because the boomers now don't smoke as much. Maybe their lungs can't handle it. I mean, don't forget, most of them were 60s. So I mean, the 50s and 60s, they were smoking cannabis. Some of them
But
were
a
smoking
lot
cannabis.
of it is that it's the people that didn't smoke,
Right.
and their mind is so shaped and
Yes.
contorted by the
And they can't
laws
think
on
they
drugs.
can't think of smoking either. Like even like maybe they never smoked cigarettes
Right.
either, so they don't want to
They don't wanna
start that
start
either.
smoking.
So
Right.
it's great that they're like edibles. Now, Generation X, I believe, is the big one that on the uplift of the flower, because we are Generation Xers and we love flower. Love it, love it, love it. It's my choice. I will smoke flower over anything. So, but yeah, that's an interesting.
Yep, baby
Yeah.
boomers like their
Very
edibles.
close though.
Yeah, very
Yeah.
close. Yeah, and then we've got millennials and Gen Z
Generation Zoomers.
strongly prefer cannabis flower, 79%, and have more interest in concentrates than the older generations. Interesting. Younger generations favor quicker onset products, well, because they're young and they think that that's what matters, right? You just wanted to go out and get crazy, right?
Let's have some fun.
Right.
Woo!
While the elderly chose longer lasting products such as edibles. Most common marijuana use among older patients is for the purpose of treating chronic pain. That was 58% of people using it for that. While the younger generation tends to use it to improve sleep, 64% saying that they were using it for sleep. Older generations tend to pick products that allow normal social functioning and that are more easily dosed, like edibles. The younger generation's preference for flower and concentrates reveal they don't worry as much about the stigma surrounding cannabis use.
Yay.
And this may also come from their need for nausea relief, desire for faster effect, or due to the exposure of digital marketing. The study also examined whether state cannabis legalization status matters in patient product preferences, concluding that there are no major differences between states with differing weed laws. Additional research points to product availability and advertising practices as factors in patient preferences. Oh, yeah, all day long. Because when you go to the dispensary, if they're running a promo, because taxes are so high, people often buy what's on sale.
Yeah, of course. You buy with your pocketbook.
Yeah.
Yeah, especially
So-
cannabis, because taxes are so damn high too. So you're buying what
Yeah.
your pocketbook can spend.
Yep.
The average spend, I think, here in Illinois is $100. Like most people have $100 to spend when they go to the
When they
dispensary.
go.
Yeah, so they're getting an eighth, or they're getting a cart and maybe an edible. They're getting, a couple pre rolls and a cart. So it just depends. But the average spend is $100.
Well,
Yeah,
that's a lot.
Yeah, it's a lot.
Yeah. So we'll post the link, like I said, to the full report. It has a lot of information, and it's pretty interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good one. Well, I mean, we like our flower.
I like my flower.
Yes.
That's my favorite. Although this weekend we did concentrate, and I
We
used the
smoked
bomb.
hash. That's
Yeah.
what we smoked. We smoked hash.
It's a different level of high, or maybe I just smoked too much of it. It's a bit more intense.
I took 2 really big dabs, and they were great. I felt great. Oh, it was amazing.
It was
But that strain and the where we got the hash from too also mattered. That's really, really good hash. It wasn't cheap, and it's fucking delicious. I've been savoring the little bit I got left. A big week for cannabis in states. Kentucky. I'll get to them in a second. But so big moves in Delaware, Maryland, Kentucky, Washington, and Utah. Cannabis law reform has experienced a significant week with major strides made in the Mid-Atlantic and other regions across the United States. Both Delaware and Maryland legislators passed legislation to legalize and regulate retail sales and adult use marijuana, making the turning point for cannabis policy in the area. That's pretty big. Here's the big one. I been following the weed trail for a long time, and I've been to the bourbon trail a couple times. But now I'm following that weed trail to fucking Kentucky, because Kentucky is going mad.
so exciting.
It's not going to be till 2025 till the law is finally written. And you know what? I think it's a little bit too long. I think they could have did it like in a year from now, but I understand why they're doing it. They're going to really write the laws right. Hopefully they I haven't read it. I don't even know if all the laws are written yet. Or if they haven't even started yet. I know there was some stuff on the board, but I hope they allow home grow. And I hope they don't fuck it. I hope they don't fuck it up like a lot of the other states have. Don't learn from the mistakes what the other states did. Don't follow their laws, Kentucky. If I can give you any advice, and I've been following the weed trail for a very long time, And I will tell you this, Kentucky, look at their mistakes and rewrite their mistakes and turn that into a better law. So, Washington lawmakers also contributed to the wave of cannabis reform, advancing legalization that would prohibit employers from administering pre-employment drug tests for marijuana. And that's going to be signed into law by the governor of Washington. So that's that become the 8th state to end workplace discrimination against cannabis consumers. Also, Utah has signed legislation providing funding to establish the Center for Medical Cannabis Research within the University of Utah. Fucking great. South Carolina advocates speak out. All you need to know about the proposed medical cannabis marijuana legalization. They got a whole stuff here. Background history. Here's what somebody didn't know. The history of medical cannabis in South Carolina is an interesting one. In the early 1980s, a bill passed the state legislatures that will have allowed for medical marijuana use and was even signed into law by the governor, making it official. So that was in 1980. More recently, in 2014, South Carolina passed a law that legalized medical access to CBD, but did not allow for the mechanism of production. So you can smoke medical marijuana in South Carolina, but you can't get it anywhere because it's not being sold. So the proposed legalization to legalize medical cannabis in South Carolina has been met with much debate and opposition. There are numerous potential roadblocks to passing the proposed legalization, many of which stem from the legal implications of legalization of medicinal marijuana. Oppositions to cannabis legalization in South Carolina is strong. Ugh, come on now. Why? South Carolina advocates and supporters of the medical marijuana rights held a press conference to discuss the progress they have made in the fight to legalize access to medical marijuana. Good for them. So I would love, I mean, if it was passed in 1980 and signed, now they just got to write the laws for it so you can now buy it or grow it, home grow it. Just let people home grow it. Oh my God. Just let it 5 plants. Let people home grow. Florida tries again. They have to get like 850,000 signatures. I think they have like 420 so far. It failed in 2022 to go into law by like 1% or 2% or some shit. Oh my God. But Florida should allow its voters to decide on cannabis legalization. I agree with that 100%. So give it another try. I think it's possibly 2024. We'll see. New Mexico is fucking crushing it right now. Their first year of sales with Med and Rec together, New Mexico, revenue of $400 million for both medical and recreational cannabis in their first year. That's huge. They're getting a lot of people coming over from Texas.
That's what I was just going to say. What state neighbors them that isn't
Texas, because they ain't legal in Texas. I be going there too.
But that edge of Texas isn't super populated.
But
that's a lot of farmland.
Who cares? Yeah. Here, I just read an article I'll probably talk about in the next episode. There is a dispensary right over the border in Oregon, and here's Idaho. And there's like controversy how many people go shop there. Just like here in Illinois, the border states, Indiana, Wisconsin, they spent $142 million last year. Wow. Yes, coming into Illinois. I said that on a prior episode. So you have to understand, if your state is not legal and they sell to patients outside the state in their state, you damn right they're going there. So especially if they don't have anybody from the traditional market in the area, they can get it consistently. I'd drive an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours, load up, and come back in another month. You know. So that's a $400 million. That's dope. Good for you, New Mexico. I've been wanting to go to this for a while now. We still haven't made it. And Big Earl went. He said it was a lot of fun. The Hash Bash. 52nd annual Hash Bash. What's their message? No tokers left behind. No tokers left behind.
So this was the 52nd annual Hash Bash marijuana rally in Ann Arbor, Michigan, and this was on April 1st, just on Saturday. A little rain on a cold, windy Saturday wasn't enough to stop committed pot smokers from descending upon downtown Ann Arbor and lighting up. Despite the drizzle and temperatures below 40 degrees, smoke still billowed from the University of Michigan Diag, which is an open space in the middle of the central campus, during the 52nd annual Hash Bash marijuana rally on April 1st. Between the main Smokefest and political rally on the Diag and the coinciding Monroe Street Fair, thousands mingled about and took part in the cannabis celebration on April Fool's Day. $5 edibles, vendors on the Diag called out to passerbys as Dr. Dre and Snoop Dogg songs blasted from speakers, and rolling digital billboards for a local dispensary advertised a free eighth of an ounce of weed with purchase. That's a good deal. So you get a $5 edible and an eighth. For $5, you get all that. Nice deal.
Nice deal.
With the inclement weather, the crowd on the Diag was sparser than usual, but diehards still donned marijuana-themed attire, complemented with umbrellas and ponchos, to take in a series of speeches. The crowd joined along in anti-police chants while calling for freeing people in prison for marijuana. Free Danny Trevino, Josie Scoggin of the Great Lakes Expungement Network yelled, referring to Lansing's professor of pot. The marijuana entrepreneur was sentenced in 2020 to nearly 16 years in prison after federal investigators determined he was operating outside of marijuana laws. Our rule is no tokers left behind, said Richard Clement, a longtime marijuana activist from Detroit, who called for freeing all federal pot prisoners and encouraged attendees to call the White House and tell President Joe to let my people go. While Michiganders voted to legalize marijuana in 2018, Clement said he wants to see it legalized nationally, saying weed is a plant from God and should be protected in the U.S. Constitution.
There's angels in those leaves.
John Sinclair, the Ann Arbor poet whose 10-year prison sentence for 2 joints led to the first hash bash on the Diag in April of 1972, and he made an appearance on Saturday. That's pretty cool. The inaugural event happened after the Michigan Supreme Court declared the state's marijuana laws unconstitutional, and Sinclair was freed from prison. Now in his 80s, he sat in a wheelchair Saturday as he recited a poem and wished the crowd a happy hash bash after complaining about the government overtaxing marijuana. They're not done yet. They've still got their filthy hands in the pie of marijuana business, he said. We have to keep resisting all of these terrible charges they make, all the extra taxes. And he added, remember, these are the people that put us in prison for smoking marijuana. Now they're trying to get us to pay them for letting us grow marijuana. Other speakers recalled past oppositions to the hash bash by the city, the college campus, and police crackdowns that used to happen at the event before pot was legalized in Michigan. Despite attempts to suppress it over the years, the Free the Weed event has endured. police reported no issues or arrests on Saturday. The event is now in a phase where it's accepted by the university and the city, and they're not working against us, hash bash historian Rich Burkett said. Burkett also recalled the history of the Monroe Street Fair, the hash bash street party that officially started in 2002. Its origins trace back to 1995 when festival goers started going to Casa Dominic's on Monroe Street after hash bash, he said, noting before that the after party was at the Heidelberg on Main Street in 1994 and at Fuller Park in 1993. Ann Arbor marijuana activist Chuck Ream, a retired kindergarten teacher and regular hash bash speaker who spoke Saturday, said, "We're here because we have a deep belief, a very powerful belief, that we can change the world," he said. "And Mother God put us on this earth what we needed to change the world in all the magical and healthful plants that we have." I think I botched that up. Anyway, the plants. Some attendees puffed on foot-long joints while listening to speeches, and some posed for photos with giant inflatable Wiz Khalifa raw joints. "It's 420 somewhere," read one of the green pot leaf flags planted in the Diag lawn. "We need to remember that even though we can be out here enjoying cannabis and get a community experience, not everybody gets that privilege," said Allison Bone, president of Students for Sensible Drug Policy at University of Michigan. Bone said she gets asked all the time why there is still a hash bash when marijuana is legal. She noted there are still people living with criminal records or incarcerated because of pot, while others can go to the store and legally buy it like candy. We need to think of the marginalized communities, especially the black and brown bodies, that sit in prison and still serve time when we can be out here, she said. And that is the biggest takeaway.
Hash bash. We
Yeah.
got to make it there one year.
We do need to make it there. Mm-hmm. But not if it's like 30 degrees out.
Hell no.
Okay.
Fuck no. I want it to be like
In the Midwest, you could have 70 degrees on April 1st, and you could have a blizzard on April 1st.
Very true.
And everything in
I
between.
want it to be like high 60s.
60s would be nice. Sunshine.
Yes.
Yeah.
International news. Thailand. There's a person there with some nimble fingers.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to butcher this name. I'm so sorry. Because this person is the fastest joint roller in Thailand. Ativat Janmungatai. I hope I pronounced that somewhat correct. I apologize if I didn't. Beat other cannabis enthusiasts to roll the perfect 1 gram joint. Guess how many? Just guess the time.
I don't know.
1 gram joint. How fast do you think he rolled one?
32 seconds.
Close. 43.
Ooh.
A 1 gram. That's
Wow.
a nice size joint to roll in 43 seconds.
Yeah.
Becoming the fastest joint roller in the southern island province of Phuket. So good for that person rolling joints. 43 seconds. Dutch government to donate 1.5 million to fund CBD epilepsy study. Over 1 million in funding will help fuel the quest for CBD-based medicine that can help children with intractable epilepsy or other conditions that cause seizures. Good for you. That's awesome. Here's some other news internationally. Colombia moving to legalize cannabis. A measure that would legalize recreational cannabis in Colombia is advancing through the legislature, with members of the first committee of the chamber being the latest to approve it on Tuesday with a 26-6 vote. That's pretty good. In Australia, new research has revealed that the number of medical cannabis patients accessing prescription cannabis products has spiked lately, even though a substantial number still medicate with traditional market cannabis. Pretty good. Malaysian medical professionals voiced support for medical cannabis. Denmark cannabis sales steady in 2022. 9.34 million in 2021. 64.3 million though Danish kroner though. Smuggled cannabis cookies. A warning for parents in Thailand. Be careful over there in Thailand with those cookies. They get you. You want to move to Antarctica?
Absolutely not.
Why? Recreational cannabis is not legal there. We can go smoke with the penguins.
That'd be cute for about 2 weeks.
Yeah, it's recreational cannabis is legal in Antarctica now, and this is not an April Fool's joke. So, me and you and the penguins.
Yeah. On a vacation, maybe. I would not live there.
Your
cold.
your grandfather had one of the biggest National Geographic
Oh, yeah.
collection I've ever seen.
Oh,
Then it
yeah.
got ruined in a flood in the basement, so we never got to.
Not all of them.
Not all of them.
No, not all of them.
It was pretty big.
He would, at the end of each year, he would band them. He'd like wrap them with like butcher paper and then like twine and then stack them. He had years, decades.
I wish I
Yeah.
knew where those were, just to look at some of the ones
Yeah.
like back in the day, like when I was in school, like in the 70s, when we were at the library and you're looking at them, you know. So especially the animal ones, those were my favorite.
Yeah.
So National Geographic though, what are they talking about?
Yep, they have a new show on Hulu, and this article is about Stream It or Skip It. National Geographic investigates legal marijuana in America. This is by Johnny Loftus. This is a good article. National Geographic investigates legal marijuana in America, the new green rush. This docuseries on Hulu compares and contrasts the current climate for legal weed in the U.S. against the roots of the movement and how the cannabis industry has grown and changed since early medical marijuana wins like California Proposition 215 in 1996. Has it grown? Definitely, in more ways than one. And has it changed? Totally. But the same old issues prevail. The opening shot of the show, Cannabis, a narrator says, over time-lapse photography of weed as it grows, arguably the most controversial plant in history. The new Green Rush series presents the medical and recreational state tallies at 37 legal and 21 not legal. National Geographic then goes into its own archives to present the issues as it existed in the late 1990s and early 2000s, where we meet various players in California's independent grower and activist communities, people like Tim Blake and Steve D'Angelo, each of them lifers who have guided the cannabis conversation for decades. The older cats who've been doing things for 20, 30 years, they're tired, Blake says in a decades-old clip. They've been ostracized. They want to come out and be political. They want to be part of society. They never wanted to leave in the first place. And in another piece of archival footage, D'Angelo says that people getting involved in legalized weed who are exclusively about cashing in are missing the point. Nowadays, activists like D'Angelo have focused their energies on social justice issues, like expunging the criminal records of nonviolent drug offenders. So what does the show remind you of? Well, the issues of regulation and the intersection of legal and illegal markets for commodities that the new Green Rush touches on are explored with greater depth in another National Geographic docuseries on Hulu called Trafficked with Mariana Van Zeller. We've watched that. And for a lighter look at the ongoing expansion of the legal cannabis industry, there's always Growing Belushi on Discovery. So, our take. It only briefly introduces Derek and Dar and their early 2000s weed store IPO hustle before cutting back to the present and moving on. And that editing decision is part of the issue with this docuseries. These programs don't clearly delineate their timelines. Footage and interviews from archives can fill half of an episode's runtime, but not totally connect to the story. What this ultimately feels like is news-making pieces of old footage that Nat Geo had in its vault are being grafted onto survey versions of contemporary reporting to create a hybridized, refurbished product that can grab some eyes from the trending true crime model. There is quality information to be had in the new Green Rush, but there could be considerably more of it. Our parting shot is that with all of the distance between federal and state cannabis regulations, individuals like Morgan Fox, political director from NORML, and Steve D'Angelo, as well as the groups they represent, are found to be pivoting toward the social justice component of the ongoing argument. Our favorite line was when Danny Welton, former chief of sales at the California outlet Argus Farms, says, "The fact that the customer is paying anywhere between 20 to 36% in tax, what other industry does this? Alcohol is not taxed that way. Cigarettes,
100%. 100%.
Cigarettes
100%.
are not taxed this way.
100%.
It's going to push everything back to the black market."
Traditional.
And that's what we're dealing with. Over-regulation, over-taxation, and it's killing anyone that has a legal license that's trying to at least do this correctly. So our call, stream it. Don't, what is the option? Stream it. I'm high. Stream it or what was it? Oh, where'd you go? Stream it or skip it. Okay, so they're saying stream it. Stream it. Hang on, let's get back there. And why? But only as a survey. It offers an overview of a topic that's definitely trending, but doesn't fully connect the archival side with its contemporary reporting. So, interesting.
I wonder if I can watch that on Disney Plus because National Geographic is on Disney Plus.
Oh.
I wonder if Disney.
We'll have to see.
I wonder if Disney will put it on.
Yeah, but they wouldn't put it on Disney Plus because there's kids shows on there, right?
Well, I think there's parental controls.
Oh.
So,
Well.
but I wonder if they do because maybe I'll watch it. I just thought it was interesting. The article was very interesting and how they kind of had like two sides of it. I thought was really good. You know, that Jim Belushi show. And the only reason why I'm mentioning it is because it's season 3. It started, I think, on the 3rd. It's called Growing Belushi. But the funny thing is, and I haven't watched it at all. And but my mom, Grandma Weedman, and her brother Uncle Lewis now are texting us and calling us about it.
Did you see this plant? They grew this plant. Do you see how big it is? I'm like, right. It's so cute.
I was talking about Uncle Lewis today because he was asking me about bipolar syndrome and cannabis and should you take it or not or what you could do. So we were going through that and he goes, have you? And he's got a real harsh New York accent, like old school truck driver for 100 years. You know, he's just gritty Italian fucking New Yorker. And he's got the same voice he's had since I can remember. And he just, did you see those plants? Mud on, are you kidding me? Those plants were huge. She's got to grow some of the biggest buds I've ever seen.
That's cute. He needs to get around one of those plants.
I need my Uncle Lewis to come smoke some weed with me.
Yeah, how about it?
Oh, shit. Oh, man. Yeah, so I think, just I like that article a lot. So we'll see. But so funny about my mom and Grandma Weedman.
It's cute that they're talking about weed.
Yeah, Grandma Weedman. She's 420. She's born on 420. I was birthed, say it again, from a woman who was born on 420. So it's in my blood.
It's in your blood.
In my blood.
It's in your DNA.
Yeah. So everyone wish Grandma Weedman a happy birthday on if you can find her on any. I think it's Cougar 2 something.
I don't know. You could find. I'm sure you could see her.
I think it's on Instagram. It's like Cougar. Watch, she'll get like 1,000 messages in this whole day. You're a cougar. We gotta have her on one time. It'd be funny as hell.
We gotta get her high.
Oh man. NBA players now allowed to smoke weed without being penalized, according to tentative labor agreement report, and also they're going to be able to invest in cannabis companies. I think I read like the Denver Nuggets or something team can now invest in cannabis companies. So the NBA will let players use cannabis under a new labor agreement. The Athletic reported if tentative agreement is ratified, weed will be removed from the drug testing program. The NBA previously discontinued randomly testing players for marijuana in 2021 amid COVID. So good for the NBA. I think all sports. We've talked about this many times. After usage, when they're, recuperating their bodies instead of giving them, any kind of pills, they could be going home and taking an edible or smoking a joint or rubbing a balm on them or something like that. So, better than giving those fucking opioids or those painkillers or what's that stuff they give you shots in? What's it called? The
cortisone.
Cortisone. Yeah. All that shit, so I don't know. That's just good for the NBA players, right?
Right.
Good stuff, big Earl. Man, baked. That orange soul is still good. Man, it's been, I got a couple humidity packs in the 8 Decades jars, and it just cured the fuck out of it even more. Big Earl was talking about them yesterday too. He's like, I love these things, man. These things are great. He uses all three for like.
Does he?
Yeah, and how he transfers his certain weed into each of them at certain periods.
Cute.
When he's getting low, he goes to the middle one, and he gets to like only 1 or 2 nugs. He puts it in the smaller one. So, and then our other friend, he rolls like 10 joints, and he carries his joints around.
In the jar.
Keeps them in the jar. Oh shit, Mrs. Weedman, you got anything else to say?
Let's smoke some more.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
All right. Hey, everybody out there in the world, we love you. We need some peace. We need some love. We need some kindness. Also, if you've been watching my Sunday smoke sesh, man, I say it and I'll say it again. Go out there and enjoy your life. Go do it. Time is short. I'm telling you right now. Time seems to be going faster every fucking day. So go out there. Enjoy your life. Go out there, have some fun. Smoke some big fat doinks, everybody. As Paulie always says, smoke smart. Puff, puffin' away.
Puff, puff, pass.